I've been renting cars on Turo for over 3 years now, and it's a huge reason why I've been able to stop living check to check. But it's been a long time since I first started, and admittedly, a lot has changed. Some for the good, some for the not so good. So in today's video, I'm gonna help you figure out if starting a Turo business is exactly what you need to get out the rat race, or if what everybody is saying is true and Turo just isn't worth it anymore. When I first started renting cars on Turo a few years ago, it was my first taste of entrepreneurship, and I was admittedly still learning how to run an actual business.
Yeah, it's only my third day out here. I don't know.
On top of that, the world was also getting shaken up as we went into a global shutdown. But one thing I knew for sure was that I was sick of relying on my 9-to-5 as my only source of income and being stuck in this same old rat race. Let me know in the comments below if you can relate to this feeling too. This was a huge reason on why I seen renting cars on platforms like Turo as an opportunity to change my current situation, especially since I thought starting could be easy since I already had my own personal vehicle. So I took a leap of faith and put my first car on the Turo platform, a 2018 Chevy Malibu. I'm not even gonna lie, when I first started renting my car on Turo, it was great. Even though on the very first trip, someone bust out the back window as my guest had the car, they even bought back the car with the rock still in the back seat. But all in all, I was still making really good money on the platform. A lot of months I was even clearing over $1,000 worth of income just from one car. And as far as expenses went, the car note and the insurance were only about $500. So I was super happy to be making $400 to $500 a month in pure profit just with one vehicle. Shoot, I was barely even making that on a rental property that I had just bought, and that cost way more than a car. Plus, I had the blueprint to automate the entire business, so all I really needed to do was take pictures before and after the trips, and I was good. Man, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was just great times to be in the Turo business. And this was my first time actually making consistent money from something that I didn't have to physically work at all the time. Little did I know, everything was about to change. As time went on, because of social media and people being out of work looking for new opportunities, Turo became a lot more popular. There were videos on the internet going viral all the time about how to get a bunch of cars in a short period, and renting cars just became the new thing. A lot more hosts just started hopping on the Turo wave, and consequently, I slowly started getting less and less bookings over time. I mean, all the way down to the point where I had to lower the prices of my vehicles just to make them more attractive. The daily rate on my Chevy Malibu went from about $75 a day down to about $55 to $60 a day. That's almost a 20% drop in profit. I mean, how was my Turo business going to stay profitable with everything that I knew about the platform changing right before my eyes? The one good thing was that as these new hosts joined Turo, I was gaining more experience and also becoming more strategic in my approach. I realized that if you really want to make thousands of extra dollars in the Turo business, the real key is to scale your fleet and get multiple cars. And that's exactly what I did. Over the next year, I grew my fleet to over 5 more cars, including some newer models like a 2019 Civic and a 2021 Tesla Model 3 I had built to order. But even with multiple new model cars, I realized that with this new Turo environment and more competition, the real key to making the most money on the platform would be to buy the right cars at the right prices. So I started to buy more lower end economy cars as well, including a Nissan Sentra, a Ford Focus, and a Hyundai Sonata. These were vehicles that I was able to acquire using 0% interest business credit. I'll link to my video below about how to build business credit if you want to learn more about that after this video. My thought was I could use the rental income from these vehicles to pay off the debt within the interest-free period. That way I will own it outright without technically ever putting any money into it myself.
You smart.
To be honest, this is a strategy I still use to this day to buy vehicles for my fleet. Having more cars was really working well for my business. I even got the power host status, which is a special status that Turo gives its best hosts that gives you a little bit more perks. And my vehicles were getting more bookings and bringing in thousands of extra dollars per month. This was everything that I thought it would be when I first started, right? One thing for certain in this Turo business is that more cars equal more problems. One of the biggest complaints that Turo hosts have about this business as a whole is the lack of care that guests have for their vehicles when they have them out for trips. And this is true. Over the next year, I definitely started to experience this firsthand. Not only did I have to deal with guests smoking weed in my cars, but you also have to interact with all types of people, which can ultimately start to burn you out. But I think the toughest situations that I would go through as a Turo host is the fact that guests would sometimes damage or outright total my vehicles. I would say I had at least 3 vehicles total over that next year. I can't make this stuff up, but one time a crackhead even tried to steal my Honda Civic. At first, during this trip, everything was going good. The guests had rented my vehicle for a month and would extend it every day and pay right on time. Then out of nowhere, they just stopped extending their reservation, and when it was time to bring back the vehicle, they just stopped answering my calls and texts. And this is exactly why I keep a tracker and kill switch on all of my vehicles, because I could see precisely where they were and cut the car off right from my phone. So when I went to check the GPS, I then noticed that this guest was smack dab in the middle of some of the worst parts of the city. And all of my Philly followers know exactly where this is. Ultimately, I wound up having to get my vehicle repoed from New Jersey all the way back to Philadelphia. When I got my vehicle back, it was completely trashed. It had everything from drugs to crack needles scattered all throughout it. Needless to say, I was more than a little pissed. Fortunately, by this time, I had developed a solid strategy and made sure I took every precaution to protect myself and my cars before they went out on every Turo trip. So not only did I get reimbursed for the damage and the cleaning of the vehicle, I was also able to get paid out on some other things like an additional usage fee, improper return fee, and a smoking fee. This trip actually totaled out to over $3,000 for the month. So I wound up making way more than I normally would, and it kind of worked out in my favor. And this would be the case for most of the damage claims that I had to file through Turo. Guests would sometimes damage my vehicles and Turo would reimburse me the value of the loss, and sometimes even more. Over time, I built relationships with mechanics and auto body shops who would service my vehicles for below market rates, since I would bring them more business over time. Not to mention the $250 I would get every time a guest decided to smoke in my car, which I learned to easily fix with these ozone car bombs and my trusty ozone machine. I dropped the link for these and all my other Turo products below, just in case you want to go grab them for yourself. Profiting off these damage situations became another source of income that stemmed from Turo, but these payouts came in the form of a 4- and 5-figure check most of the times. Nonetheless, dealing with crazy guests, damage claims, and car maintenance can still be a headache, and it's just something you're going to have to get used to while in the Turo business. Now, you may be sitting there wondering why I even still have a Turo business to this very day. But to be honest, Turo still makes sense for where I'm at in life and what I'm trying to accomplish. For starters, the business is still generating a good amount of additional income besides my 9-to-5. And I haven't paid a car note in over 3 years, which has allowed me to save my money and place it in other investments like real estate. I think that's the real key. Don't just get stuck with running a Turo business. Use the money and the freedom that you get from this to leverage into something else that can make you even more money. This is just a first step to use what you already have to start making some financial progress. Also, the fact that I get to drive pretty much any car that I want for free is still crazy to me. And running my Turo business has helped me become a better entrepreneur as well. With every situation that I encounter, it just adds more experience and knowledge that I have as a business owner. As I said, Turo is a great introduction to running a business for new entrepreneurs. So the question remains, is Turo still worth it? And I think it is if you fall into one of these 2 categories. Number 1, you're a new entrepreneur looking to create more income streams other than your 9-to-5, and you need a business model that's simple to start. Turo can be a lot simpler to start than other business types like product-based businesses like e-commerce and even real estate. Most of the business model here is already done for you, and it doesn't take a lot of in-depth expertise to start. This is really the perfect starter scenario and is exactly where I was at when I started my journey. You can try it out, rent your own car, and see if this is something that you can see yourself scaling into a bigger operation. And if not, it's not a lot of risk to go into it if you decide to do something else. The second type of person that I think Turo is definitely still worth it for is someone who has a lot of business connections in the car industry or just overall knows cars really well. Mechanics, auto body shops, and car dealers all have a huge advantage when it comes to starting their own Turo business. You can leverage your expertise and your current connections in the car industry to make growing a Turo business even easier and less expensive. I personally know multiple people who were in the car industry already who decided to start a Turo business and were really successful, all due to the fact that they had prior knowledge of vehicles. Now, let's talk about who Turo is definitely not worth it for. Number one is the entrepreneur who already may have a business or two and is just looking to start another one that may require minimum effort. If you already have a somewhat successful business, then Turo probably isn't going to be for you because you'll have to dedicate more time and attention to this business model that can take it away from your already successful one. Ultimately, it could be better for you to focus on one business model instead of profit chasing and jumping from one business to the other. The second type of person that Turo isn't worth it for is any individual looking to get rich quick. Now, Turo can be simple to start, but realistically, it's just not going to make you $100,000 overnight. And honestly, there's really no business model out there like that, or everybody would be doing it. Any business that you start, you're really going to have to lock in a whole lot at the beginning. This way you can learn the ins and outs of the business, take the bumps and bruises that you need to, and ultimately grow it and scale it to a much bigger place. Hopefully, now that you got an inside look at 3 years worth of my Turo journey, you have a clearer picture of what it means to really run a car rental business. This way, you can make an educated decision yourself on if starting a Turo business is right for you. And if you are ready to start your own Turo journey, there are just a few other must-knows before you start renting your cars on the platform. So make sure you watch this next video where I give you all the most important things you need to know to start your business successfully. Let's get it.